Oh. Hey, what's going on, everybody? And thanks for joining us again. We're live. Today's theme is run-ins with the law. We got it going every which way, starting with Joe Rogan reportedly preparing a lawsuit against MSNBC for $30 million because I guess they deceptively broadcasted him supporting Kamala Harris. And the next topic following that will be grade schools are locking up public school kids' cell phones, and the upsides and downsides to that. I can't say I'm in favor of that, but you know, we'll get to it. And then wrapping up the whole episode, we're gonna be talking about how the EU was warning Elon Musk and Trump of legal action if viewers are offended by their interview. And a lot of that stemming from new UK laws that are giving reprimand and sentence against those that that post offensive posts on social media. So we'll talk about where that line is and the impact it has. But without further ado, first let's introduce the Pickle Gallery, those hanging out with us in the wing. First, let's start off with Ricardo Wright from Just Another Day TV. Ricky, how you doing today?
I'm good, brother. Glad to be back, man. We're going to have a great show today. Let's go.
I love it. And also, we got Silent Destroyer. Silent, how are things?
What's up, everybody? Things are going fantastic. Hope you guys are well. I'm really excited for the show this week. Let's get it going.
That's right. And without further ado, let me introduce my co-host, my good friend, David Cunningham. How you doing, David?
I'm doing a lot better. So last week was a rough week for me. There was several tornadoes that touched down over in Cleveland, and I was without power for like 4 days. And let me tell you what, that sucks. I know what it feels like to be like a genocide victim, slave, Holocaust survivor, all of them, every single one of them, because I had without power for about 4 days. So it came back on.
You're insane.
Not too long ago. So I'm excited. I'm glad to be back. Glad to be here. So, and you know who else is glad to be back? Glad to be here? Ryan.
I know, dude.
What did I just hear? Okay.
He doesn't know what
I'm
he
a
just
victim.
said.
I'm a real victim. It's been a victim of nature, a victim of circumstance, and definitely a victim of
and a victim of George Soros and those people dictating the weather.
It's been rough.
Be-rizzle my shizzle here. I don't know what else to report. This is going to be a interesting show. Let's go.
All right, so let's bring the Pickle Gallery back in here. We're going to be starting the episode off with a viewer submission. We've got somebody that submitted a topic they want us to dive into before we get into our main topics today. So, Brian, without further ado.
Fellas, great show the last couple of weeks, but I have a question for this week's show. What do you guys think about the plane that went down in Brazil, killing all 7 or 8 cancer doctors? What do you guys think about that?
So there's some really interesting circumstances surrounding this Brazilian plane. We had a weekend away for a golf tournament this weekend. When someone brought it up to me, I just was like, all right, I don't have time for more crazy stuff. So I didn't pay it much mind, but it's very peculiar. And before we really dive into the different wild angles to this, Brian, let's go to video 1 there. This is the event itself. So it literally drops, free falls from the sky. Here's another angle of it as well. I mean, normally you can guide it with its wings. So that the bizarre part is let's go to video 2 then as well. You don't normally just see a plane just drop like that.
No.
With no ability to guide itself and follow the momentum of, like, it's not even guided by its wings. I mean, the wreckage is crazy.
Such a catastrophic failure for that to almost spin like a helicopter coming down. I'm actually pretty curious. If anyone who is an aviation expert in the comments, let us know exactly probably what happened here. My theory is like that tail, like the rudders on the end of planes, that probably just got locked in position, killed the engines, and just it's all bad news from there. See, when from the limited knowledge I have of aviation, if everything's like straight, like the rudders on all the planes, you can kind of guide it a little bit and it's fine. But something like that, especially just dropping, weird, really weird.
Well, and of course, the weirdness doesn't just stop there, David. It is perfectly so that 6 doctors that are major leaders in the field of cancer development or the cure for cancer happen to be on that plane. So people are quick to leap to conspiracies like, oh, look at it's the big pharma or the big medical mechanism that are trying to make money on treating you and not curing you, and they're stopping the doctors that are doing the thing in the. But here's the thing: the reality is, on a different side of the same coin is, for the folks that are developing the science of creating the cure for cancer, right? You would imagine they're all cohorts. They all work together. They all kind of go places together. If there's a convention, they're probably together. And when they're developing and working on their science, they're definitely not apart. So it shouldn't also be a shock that they all were on a plane that reached tragedy. And it could have just been just as much circumstance and coincidence, but it feels nefarious because they're all together and it happened in this weird, tragic way. But I think the reality of it all is more likely than not, they're all traveling together because they work together. Maybe they're going to convention together, whatever the case may be. And there's just a technical failure. And here's the reality. For those that are like petrified of planes, I'm lucky, very fortunate that I traveled a lot at a very young age. So to me, a plane is no different than the car, if not more comfortable to me. And so for the folks that are afraid of traveling and flying on planes, you got to get out there. You got to experience this life. There's way too much you're missing out on. And statistically, it makes you crazy. You're statistically insane. Well, how can I get away with saying that? Because you are like 1,000 times more likely to die in your car that you get in every day than the one time you die in a plane. So I say that, look at the one tragic plane incident, and on that same day, there was probably 15,000 planes flying, at least. Oh my God, am I lowballing you big time? And you found the one this year. That's going to be the one. That's going to be the one that's on everybody's TikTok. That's going to be the one that we all talk about because planes are, quite frankly, the easiest or safest way of travel. And I think this is more of a tragic fluke. I mean, damn, the way it dropped, that tells me like, I don't know. Or do you have the ability to just hit that kill switch? What do you guys think? Pickle Gallery?
If DJ Khaled can get over his fear of flying, so can you. That's all I have to say about fear of flying. Sorry, Ricky.
Ain't the first time when there's like a lot of like where there's like lead scientists on planes going down. Ain't the first time. You know what I mean? I think even like the Malaysian, one of the like Asian flights, there were like leaders in some type of scientific.
No. You're getting it confused. The Asian flights are getting lost in sky portals.
They haven't been found yet, so therefore they're still lost.
They are in the 7th dimension right now, and I don't think they're coming back.
Me either. But like, hey, where's there's smoke, there's fire, man. I believe in coincidence, but like, come on now. Tell me where they were going, where that flight was supposed to land, and was there a convention? And you say also, they're probably working together. Maybe, but still, that plane seemed like it seized or something. It just shut down, EMP that bitch, and went down. I'm just like,
I think we learned with the Boeing whistleblowers that killing someone via plane probably isn't the most efficient way to do it. You can theoretically, if Big Pharma really wants you dead, I think a plane accident is probably the least likely situation. There's a lot of factors you just can't control. Now, if they all died in a car accident on their way to the convention, okay, all right, I can.
But again, they
I can
all
see
be
how that
in the,
works.
you can't be like, oh my God, they're all in the same car. Like that shouldn't be some sort of conspiracy. That's just an unfortunate coincidence because they're innately going to be going to the same place, be working together, more likely than not traveling together because of that. And you're just increasing the odds statistically that if something goes wrong, it's really wrong. It's taking everybody.
Yeah, and this isn't an Oppenheimer situation where there's one guy with the sole knowledge, or like 4 people with the sole knowledge of how to cure cancer. That you just a convenient plane crash, and all of a sudden now we're back to square one. You know how many people are researching cancer? There's got to be probably more people researching cancer than there is incarcerated in Cleveland right now. I bet the numbers probably justify that. So it's not just like one person has got the silver bullet here. There's all sorts of different people working on it. And is it a major blow? How high, are they highly regarded? Is this, are they 2 years into their cancer research, or are they 20 years in? That makes a difference. If they're interns, they probably don't know a whole lot, but if they're, if they're grizzled veterans, okay, that's a bit of a blow. But I think there's a few other people who probably know, or at least on the track to hopefully cure cancer if it is curable. But I to think that's just 4 people have all the knowledge on how to do it. That's a little that doesn't pass sniff test.
Occam's razor does not approve. Silent Ricky, any other wrapping thoughts? I mean, good viewer submission. Shout out, Ricky. Do you know the name of the gentleman that sent it in?
On Instagram, he goes by Brazy_Barnes. Brazy_Barnes.
Thanks. Appreciate the submission. That was a good one. But guys, any wrapping thoughts? I mean, crazy stuff. It's a sad tragedy, but I think I don't know if it's more of a scene than just a tragedy.
We're here to just, flush out ideas and stuff, like, just throw shit against the wall, see if it sticks or not. That's why I love this show. You know what I mean? And, someone might take something from this and go do a deep dive, and we have a 2-hour YouTube video.
That's right. Hey, so that being said, dive into the comments. Let us know what you make of the incident in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and what we can take away from this. Scary stuff, but also, I mean, shout out to Brizzy. Get this viewer submissions in.
Yeah.
I love it. Send it to Ricky, send it to Silent, myself, DM us, get yourself involved. Again, that's the whole purpose of the live show. So be sure to be diving into the comments and add a little perspective to the dialogue here. But without further ado, let's dive into our first topic here. I think this is going to be a really interesting one. Juicy as well. So
Juicy for sure.
Joe Rogan is apparently setting up for a $30 million lawsuit against MSNBC. And as a guy that's been kicked around and manipulated by the media the way he has, I mean, he survived COVID in 24 hours, and in his video talking about how well he did and how it barely impacted him, they literally changed his skin to look gray and like he was a carcass. I mean, they've been manipulating and twisting his view and his message for a while now. And I think it's about time that somebody, if not him, steps into the batter box and takes some swings at humbling these folks. I mean, Joe Rogan himself is the one that says, what's the point of having FU money if you don't finally step up and say FU? So there's some relief of the fact that finally a guy like Joe is stepping in and potentially humbling the situation. So what we got here is a clip from his recent interview with Michael Malice. Some of the guys here in the studio, this is like our favorite Joe Rogan. Yes, he's a favorite. So the theme of the entire episode, like it's really a thread throughout the entire episode, not just this snippet we're going to show you, but the whole episode is how unfit Camel Lady is to be really any sort of politician, let alone vice president and or president. For those of you that don't speak Rethink Tank, I'm going to say this one time, and that's Kamala Harris. I'm not going to get into why I don't say her name, but Camel Lady is running for president. Shocker. But like I said, the whole episode is how unfit and just untethered this lady is. And they take his message and chop it up in such a way that it makes it seem like he's a huge supporter of this movement and how well she's going to do. And the most interesting piece is the most supportive pieces that they embed are elements of him talking about Tulsi Gabbard, not even him. So what we're going to see is the original clip itself from the Joe Rogan Experience, and then Tulsi Gabbard takes Twitter to explain all the bits that are cut out, and then we see what MSNBC posts, and you can see how egregious this is. Is it worth $30 million? Brian, take us to
gaslighting is what bothers me.
3.
that was
Yep.
it.
Bothers me. It all bothers me, the fragility of the human mind. You know, that everybody forever was like, Kamala Harris is the worst vice president. She's the least popular vice president of all time. And then in a moment in time, all of a sudden she's our solution. She's our hero. Everybody's with her. All these social media posts about her. Try Googling a negative story on her. You won't find one.
So,
Ta-da!
okay, you've got me started, Officer Harris. They've been doing this live for years. So in 2019, our pal Tulsi absolutely nuked her in that second debate. And
Right.
if you looked at charts at the time, she's kind of, Officer Harris is like doing okay. First debate, she comes out, Joe Biden, you're a racist. The Democrats were looking for an alternative to Bernie Sanders that wasn't Biden. She starts going up in the polls, right? Second debate comes out, Tulsi, being a good Hawaiian, knows how to roast the pig, just completely slams her. Not only that, she has no counterpunch. She goes on Anderson Cooper and she's like, well, I'm a top tier candidate, so of course people are going to take shots at me. That's her answer. She immediately starts going down in the polls. It's that day. You can see it on the chart I have on my Twitter. All the articles at the time that did an autopsy on Kamala Harris's failed campaign didn't mention Tulsi once.
Yeah.
It was BBC, LA Times, Reuters, New Yorker. A guy from the Washington Post just did a piece looking back on her campaign, didn't mention Tulsi either.
Isn't that wild?
They completely pretend it didn't happen.
Well, it just shows you that what they're looking for is not what they say they're looking for.
Yes.
Because she is a strong woman. She is a person who served overseas twice. She in a medical unit, so she got to see people blown up by the war. She was a congresswoman for 8 years.
Yeah.
She is a person of color. She's everything you want. All those things you want.
But
And
she's
yeah,
not-
you don't want her.
Because she's not for war.
Yes.
'Cause
Well,
she's not
she's
for the
also
mission.
just not willing to play ball. There's a game that's being played. And if you're like, hey, you're not supposed to fucking move the ball. Like, oh, look at this bitch over here. Like, get out of here. You're going to fuck up our game. It's not real democracy. It's controlled parties.
MSNBC was exposed today for yet another set of lies. They deceptively edited together this video of different Joe Rogan comments to make it appear that he was singing the praises of Kamala Harris.
She's going to win.
No, she's not.
She can win. She is a strong woman. She is a person who served overseas twice. She in a medical unit. She was a congresswoman for 8 years.
Yeah.
She is a person of color. She's everything you want. She's going to win.
No, she's not.
She can win. They just want no Trump, no matter what.
I mean, okay, before I kind of dive into it, let me get your guys' thoughts.
So we see a lot of Joe Rogan taken out of context or at least interpreted a little differently. This one's one of the very blatant ones. They just either someone wasn't paying attention or they deceptively just put it together like, oh, this no way is the biggest podcast in the world. Someone's going to be able to parse through those notes and go, hey, wait a minute. He didn't say that. That's not what he meant. The hubris of MSNBC to go through that. They got some big balls to at least attempt it. And I'm surprised someone got the okay to actually, you know what? That's fine. No one's going to notice.
I mean, dude, that's $1 million mistake.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing
for
here.
Sure. Even if he doesn't win the lawsuit, the court fees alone is going to justify that person probably getting fired. In all honesty.
But you know what? This comes back to that HBO documentary about Nickelodeon and Drake Bell and all them folks. One of the things that was a takeaway from that documentary that puts a spotlight on a lot of the crew and employees, more than just Dan Schneider and the big names. I mean, the layers of people this has to go through to get approval before it is on your screen, right? This isn't the news anchor pulling a what's the Will Ferrell guy? What's his name?
Anchorman.
Yeah, this isn't yes,
Ron
and if this
Burgundy.
isn't your Anchorman taking a Ron Burgundy moment and going, "Go F yourself, San Diego,"
Yeah.
like going off script on a live show.
Yeah.
That's not what this is. This was a bit that somebody put together, and for it to make it to the producer's chair, for them to hit play and embed it in the episode, that has to go through layers of approval. So one guy, I don't think is getting fired. I think it's the mechanism itself that's going to get a slap on the hand because they've got such deep pockets. And truthfully, they know you guys remember the SpongeBob episode when Plankton got buckets on all these dunces' heads and just like made them chum bucket zombies? Like, everybody loves my cheeseburgers because they wear the damn bucket. That people that watch cable news or MSNBC or Fox News or CNN, if you're one of them, you are the chum bucket brain dead zombie.
Yeah.
You just plug in and whatever it tells you, it tells you. So it doesn't matter if there's a lawsuit over here, there's a Twitter X footnote over here, correct? Or even Snopes every once in a while wants to show some integrity and they jump in with an accurate fact checker. It doesn't matter where the fact checks come in. Truthfully, more than anything, what's better? This is why legal pursuits like this by people that have FU money, Joe Rogan, why it's so important is because not only can you get your $30 million bag and correct them where it hurts, but you can also do things like injunctions, forcing them to, because here's the problem. You have folks like CNN and other newscasts that totally say they're bullshit. Lie, wrong. And then it could come out 10 days later and they go, whoopsie. And they don't have to tell anybody. We should have an injunction that forces you to then put in your next press release, hey, correcting the record, this was a thing. Like when I do my podcast, the podcast itself, if there is something where because that's like done on the spot. Or if we really haven't had it present itself in this live show, but if it happened, the next episode, we're going to go, hey, this is what was wrong. We want to correct the record. The fact that there's none of that there's none of like, well, okay, I don't care that you paid $30 million as you collect $10 billion this month. Like, I'd rather, because getting back to the point, the person that it actually had its effect on, the brain dead zombie that just consumes, they don't follow these stories. No. Big Brother just tells them Joe Rogan bad. Joe Rogan like Kamala. Joe Rogan like Camel Lady. And then they're like, oh my God, Joe Rogan like Camel Lady. And then it doesn't matter where else the record is corrected. It doesn't reach them. And so until that zombie source, the television, tells them the truth, we're cooked. I don't know. Pickle Gallery, what are your thoughts? Go, Ricky.
Oh, go ahead, Ricky. Yep.
I feel like it's about damn time. Like the big media need to start being accountable, because when they do retract a story, no one hears it. Charlemagne the God says the lie is more entertaining, but no one really gives a fuck about the truth because the lie is more entertaining. So no one's gonna go dig up the truth. They just see what they see, as you said, and run with it. So right. I love that Joe is using his FU money to be like, all right, sick of y'all, cut it. You know what I mean? Don't even put me on y'all platforms anymore. I wish, like, if they come to a settlement, they just put that in there. Like, don't even put me on y'all platforms anymore. Just leave me out of y'all bullshit.
No, I appreciate it. Sam, what do you think? You're muted.
Oh, you're muted.
Oh,
hold on.
That's a big faux pas.
Now you're
Okay.
good.
You're good.
Okay, back at it. I agree
talking
with
about
Ricky. I totally love that Joe Rogan is using his FU money to arm wrestle with MSNBC. Whether he wins or loses is irrelevant because 30 million is nothing for them, and they're not even going to pay it anyways. They have media insurance that's going to pay it, regardless of if they win or lose. But I agree in that it sends a message to these big media companies like, hey, if you guys want to, post some bullshit and edit clips out of context, guess what? I'm gonna put you in a hot seat, and then you're gonna have to defend yourself of why you did that. So hopefully that teaches them to cut the bullshit and to not do it again. Now, will I think it will happen again? Of course it will, right? Just like what Ricky said, like people just love negativity. People just love out of context stories. Even if they're right, even if they're wrong, people don't care because people are going to consume it anyways and probably forget about it in the next 10 minutes.
You're 100% right.
So regardless of whether the story is actually true or not, it's irrelevant because at the end of the day, the information being delivered to those people directly through these channels is just going to be consumed and forgotten, regardless of what it is or whether it's correct or incorrect. But again, I'm glad to see Joe Rogan like stand up for himself and probably stand up for people that wouldn't be able to arm wrestle with MSNBC.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on all this?
Well, does this not help Joe Rogan a little bit? Does he not encourage this a little bit more? Because you're thinking all that. So this is all like, is the MSNBC viewer really going to be swayed by what Joe Rogan thinks or doesn't think?
No,
probably not. Is the Joe Rogan viewer going to be swayed by whatever MSNBC says about Joe Rogan? Probably not. So there's this like weird gap that I'm thinking about where all this is just like media story. So now you get you get someone who's probably like me. I sometimes I'll listen to Joe Rogan. It's like a really big episode. You get somebody in there. Oh, there's a controversy. He's been taken out of context. Oh, he's suing. Well, let me listen to that episode. Let me listen to media around it. Does that not just benefit everybody? So,
yeah.
So the more we just have this circle of, we just kind of circle jerk this thing around with everybody, with all these media corporations, is that not a benefit to everyone who's involved? And do they not want it a little bit more? So is this lawsuit? Let's just assume it's a true lawsuit, and everyone kind of benefits from the media attention from it. So MSNBC viewers, they kind of locked in, like, no. It was taken out of context, and they start, spouting things on social media, get that engagement. Joe Rogan viewers, oh my God, why is the corporate media, what the hell are they doing? They start spouting things, they start creating engagement on social media, and it just makes everyone more profitable all at the same time. While like news, like the like the real romantic story of like journalism, news, and how we parse through information is just crumbling because of the result of all, the attention economy. I kind of go that way with it instead of, let's say he's going to sue. He's going to, let's say he wins. Okay. They'll just do it again, and they'll just get better at the lawsuit. They'll get better at the game. They'll just misinterpret them. They have ways to weasel themselves out of it. Cause with your law experience that it's kind of a high bar for defamation. This isn't an easy lawsuit, even if it's really black and white on the front of it. There's intent, improving intent. There's all sorts of
not only I think it's going to be less defamation and more of just falsehood. Like you can't consciously broadcast a lie. Especially there's like integrity laws for journalists. The problem is there's no damn integrity in journalism anymore, and we forgot that those laws exist.
Yeah. Isn't it all relative too? So if everyone's doing the same thing,
exactly.
law kind of bases things on relativity to itself. So and they all claim, just like we saw with Tucker Carlson, Bill O'Reilly, they're entertainment, they're entertainers. They're not actually news people. News people are on your 11 o'clock, your local channels. Here, this is all entertainment. They don't advertise themselves. Like CNN is news network, not CEN, entertainment network. It's all they're, they have this faux pas of news. They have this shroud of news, but on the back, when you really get, or like when you really try to pin them to the wall, they're actually entertainers. So I don't necessarily see this going anywhere. This is a nice little news story that makes everyone a little bit richer. And do they just go, all right, Joe Rogan, we'll pay you $1 million. We're going to be done with this.
Wait. Do you think this makes MSNBC richer?
Oh, I think so. Absolutely. It's engagement. You know, what was the last time
I've ever talked about MSNBC? Yeah, we don't.
We don't. And this is one of those, like, you get the Joe Rogan audience involved in MSNBC, and now they can sell just a few more ads about, I don't know, bone broth, supplements. I don't know. There's all sorts of different things. Oh, well, weed action.
Man.
So you some salesperson's probably chomping at the bit at the news counter, going, all right, hey, it's all Joe Rogan stuff. We can sell products. Yeah, we're like way left and liberal, but guess what? There's like a Venn diagram here that we can specifically sell for this period of time. I bet someone out there in sales departments thinking about that right now, and they're probably going to their manager, hey, can we get more of these? Can we irritate Tucker Carlson here for a little bit? See if apples fall off that tree. That's just kind of how this game works. So I hate to be real cynical. Trust me, I hate to be cynical. This is one of those stories where I just immediately go to, like, I think everyone's just getting richer because of this.
He had to end his point on a lie. All right, let's start landing this plane. Ricky, give me your rapping thoughts.
I have a question. So does this mean if this lawsuit goes through, right? And like, is it going to be like a precedent for like taking clips out of context? Like, if I want to play this part of the video and this part, but the way I align it.
Oh yeah,
I get what it did was messed up.
Isn't that only true if it goes to trial? So
yes,
so if they settle out of court before it ever gets to trial, it's not technically precedent.
Okay. But I
don't see him wanting to settle. He's not doing it for the money. If you had a lady in Arkansas that's like, all right, but I could get out of the corn farm, like, she might consider it. I don't know if you know this, the dude wants to open like 2 more motherships across the country. Like, he's playing in money. So I don't think he's looking for a payday. I think he has a corporation that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars that has a team of attorneys that are looking for shit to do. This is what they do. I think he's like, okay, I have a den of dogs. Sick 'em, boy. Like, I think 4 years ago, here's the thing. The number of guests, liberal, conservative, or otherwise, that come on his show and bring up, like, he meets Adam Sandler for the first time today. We see him they're colleagues and everything else, but we see him do a podcast with someone new like this, and it still gets brought up. Yeah, man, you and that COVID stuff was crazy. There was a lot of crazy shit with Joe Rogan and the COVID stuff, Horst Dewormer and the other. But he made who's the CNN Dr. Sanjay Gupta? He made him look like a total fool. The thing that they talk about the most when Joe Rogan is brought up about that period, the thing that stands out to him as the most egregious is when they turned him gray. He literally he had COVID, 24 hours is on a run in the mountains and is like, I'm kicking ass. Get out there and kick ass. If you were healthy, you wouldn't need a cheeseburger for a vaccine. You would just be healthy. And then they were like, make him gray. And I think ever since then, you've gotten a different Joe Rogan. You got a Joe Rogan that's ready to attack. And he has a team that is paid and only purpose is to do that. It's to protect the brand, the show. Don't let people infringe on the trademark and protect our brand. But also humble a couple news networks when they do things like this, as I've experienced in the past. I'm going to just wrap my thought up and we'll give it to you guys again. My last piece is this. It is egregious and criminal how the person they shower the broadcast of compliments with is a dialogue about Tulsi Gabbard. The oxymoron reflected in that cannot be overlooked. Tulsi Gabbard is the reason Camel Lady had to remove herself from the presidential election the first time. Just wrecked her. Wrecked her not because she's some superhero, which she is. She wrecked her because she just knew the facts, and the facts alone bring the house of cards that is Camel Lady to the ground. So they go, all right, we're going to remove her, and then we're going to force her down their throats when they have no choice. You don't get to pick the vice president. You just kind of pick the president, tolerate with the vice president. You know, I saw today, and if I didn't have to worry about algorithms and videos pulling down, I would have played it. But it's funny how a 2020 Trump election video hits a lot different this year. The video is kids trick-or-treating at some person's house. It's an October election video. And Biden, it's all these kids trick-or-treating and like a 20-year-old in a Biden mask trick-or-treating. And they're like, hey, aren't you a little old to be doing this? And the person doesn't say anything. And they're like, hey, you know, this is for kids. You should get out of here. And the person just takes the candy out of their hands, dumps it in their bag, rips off the mask, and it's Kamala Harris. And the campaign ad is, don't let them trick you. Know who you're really voting for. And boop, skippity boop, look at where we're at. The whole shebang. Just like Indiana Jones, we're just sitting there trying to switch the sandbag for the gold, and we still get the boulder. See how this works? We still lose. So my wrapping point is, notice the real Trojan or the Trojan horse that they have to hide in. The true Democrat, the true female leader we should all be praising and calling for, they have shunned from politics. They have cut out, because even as Joe Rogan said, she doesn't play ball. And that's because she stands for the people and not the machine. So what do you want? We all laughed. Go back and watch it. We all laugh when they clip the Joe Rogan piece of him saying she has military background. Camel Lady don't have no military background. What are you doing? That's literally Tulsi Gabbard. So what makes her so great? You have a politician that has served the country, knows the sacrifice, knows what is at stake when we take your sons and daughters and throw them in foreign wars. Her stand against that makes her an enemy of the thing that we blindly entrust. And so just acknowledge the sheet that they have to hide their turd in is the true politician that stands for you and has been pushed out of politics because of that fact. All right, Pickle Gallery. Silent, what's your rapping thought?
As I said before, I think this is really good in the grand scheme of things, because hopefully it will send a message to the big media to not manipulate and, you know, take clips out of context. Will I think it will matter in the long run? Probably not, because I think they're still going to do it anyways. But I think it's good that Joe Rogan is using his resources and his FU money to actually fight back, because as you guys saying, like the fact that they actually took him praising Tulsi and made it look like it was Camel like Lady was crazy in the first place. But it's also very unfortunate that like Joe Rogan said, she doesn't want to play ball, and that's probably why she cannot be running for president, because she's obviously a very qualified candidate. I would say, in my opinion, from what I've seen and from just watching her talk on the Joe Rogan podcast and from other sort of like debates and clips and things like that about her. But yeah, she just doesn't play ball. So that's probably why she's not going to win. Whereas Kamala obviously knows what she's doing. And like you said, the whole Trojan horse thing is going to happen. And she's probably going to be up there competing with Trump. And not to get too off of the tangent, but I think at the end of the day, she knows that the way to get there is to manipulation, essentially using the big media to manipulate the people.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, we don't want to get into it, but think about all the videos and pictures that are being, you know, deconstructed as AI fake crowds and, you know, manipulated videos to make it seem like she has greater support than it is. I mean, that is a conversation for another day.
Yeah,
but
that's a rabbit hole in itself.
That's
That's
crazy.
a whole rabbit hole.
So Ricky, any other rapping thoughts? We kind of ripped you off there.
Short and sweet. We need to get back to independent journalism and not team journalism, like political team journalism.
I appreciate that, David.
No, Ricky really put it well. Yeah, I think we need to get back to team independent journalism. Just it's like what's the benefit here other than money? If we're really trying to be a news network, are we trying to take people out of context? Just blatant. It's just I don't really understand. Is like are you trying to sway the Joe Rogan watcher, the hardcore viewer, and like, oh well, he likes Kamala Harris, so therefore I'm going to vote for her. Anyone who's an actual Joe Rogan, listener, even if you're just a part-time listener, you listen one every now and then. He's never been big on Democratic politics. Really, it's just been Bernie Sanders. That's been it. So, I don't know really what they were trying to succeed with this.
I can appreciate it, Brian. Rapping thoughts.
I was just thinking, what branch would she be in? I mean, I would pay money to watch her do like some SEAL training, camel lady I'm talking about, or
dude, could you see her doing a Tough Mudder?
Yeah,
just just have her do a Tough Mudder, like run through the mud and the electrical nodes. I can see her getting halfway through the mud.
She's so uncomfortable. She doesn't know how to say.
God, she's just so weird. We're on the weird for the Republican candidates, but she's odd. Just the way just that cackle, that laugh.
I think the word you're looking for is psychopath.
Probably. Well, they all are. Every single one of them are. Let's not kid ourselves here. JD Vance is also not of the
but
of
you know
sound
what?
mind.
Okay, he's kooky. They're all weird.
They're all
sure.
weird.
But am I too far off the reservation when I say she literally has nothing in her head? Like, she can't go off script. Like, here's the thing. You could catch here. Let's say you caught me in a compromised state. It's like 7 a.m. We're at an Airbnb with a bunch of friends on vacation, and I'm like going to get coffee at a deli. If you grabbed me, I wouldn't need my notes. Like, what you're getting is what you're getting. This is me. Did you know nobody wrote a script for us before this show?
No.
So, like, I would probably give you the same thing today as I would in the middle of the night when I go to take the morning dump. Or it is what it is. But what's crazy is you can never catch her on her game. Airhead feels like it's giving her too much. I don't even think there's air. Nothing is a philosophical concept that I think she answers.
You spent anywhere from like 6 to 4 years basically reciting the same notes, the same topics. They have not gone off script as far as their platform, their position. Maybe you might be able to catch her on a gotcha with like Israel and Palestine. But that's about it. Everything else has been by the book Democrat Party. And to not get like a genuine answer, not to get any sort of what's your favorite real Kamala Harris moment when she just acts like a regular person and not even Joe Biden's got a couple of those.
We going for FOMO, yeah.
It's just where is that moment? It's also fake, and I think we would go back to the Joe Rogan clip. He put it best. There's no one thought she was anything at all. Had to go out of her own primary in her own state. Didn't even take it to the vote. Didn't even get a single vote cast her name within the primary. And then all of a sudden, we just went from the lowest rated vice president ever to, oh, you know what? Hey, she's the savior of all of us. What?
It's like her. She's on Time Magazine now.
Yeah, I'm just not buying it. And I don't think they could handle the whole assassination attempt for a whole cycle. They had to do something crazy to just get in the news cycle. And, in fairness,
she's
they've
woman
done
of the year or person of the year. Is that what it is? Or she's just on Time Magazine?
It's just a puff piece. Just a Time Magazine puff piece.
Yeah.
They put out there.
Yeah. Whoa.
And like 3 months ago, lowest rated VP of all time. And now you're on Time magazine looking like the opportunistic leader of this country, and it's like you are completely like put into that
It doesn't make sense. Too much. There's too much contrast. You're not. It doesn't pass the sniff test.
All right, we need to land the Brazilian plane, but I can't help but bring up one last time.
All right.
Okay, there is a crazy thing going on with the Democrat Party, and it is the falsification of realities. Like, they are just creating realities. I love like the Project 2020 or 25 crap.
Yeah.
They're doing this thing. The bad guys are doing Project 2025, and we really don't know what Project 25 is, but we know it's bad. And then you go ask all the bad guys, and the bad guys are like, we've never heard of this in our life. Every person with a red hat's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. That's the worst Trump impression I could do, but I tried.
Yeah, it was bad.
But it's funny that they make something like that up. Like, you know, of course they peddle that they're weird, that the red hat people are weird. But the one that's got me going now is they literally created the border czar. They do
did.
this thing, and then they go and scrub the internet of them ever saying the border czar, and they're like, Donald Trump and his crazy folks are out here calling her the border czar and saying we said it, we never said it, she's never been the border czar. Imagine being so much of a failure at your job. Like let's say you're supposed to be the first baseman, and then they do all these you know, billboards, the best first baseman, and you can't catch the ball to save your life. And then they're like, never was a first baseman. Everybody that says they're a first baseman is making it up. It's a big conspiracy. They're crazy. It's like, you made this up. You had to come up with a catchy enough name like Border Czar that it's a name that we're not going to forget. If you started calling me anything czar, we're not in Russia. That's going to stand out. I don't know.
Yeah, that one was odd. Or also my other favorite when they went with Ultra MAGA. Remember that? they at that time point they were doing a bunch of just different things. And this was year one. I think year one or year two in the presidency where they knew he's going to be the front runner. So we're just our whole presidency. Every time we're on camera, is just like, well, this guy sucks, and we're just going to say it over and over and over again, and just hope you guys hope it gets better with the economy. Oh my God, this is awful.
Brian, wrapping thoughts.
Take this plane down.
If we can't get Catcher on her game talking to the American people, how do we expect her to talk to leaders of other countries?
Well, good question, Brian. I've got the answer. Her and the dead guy are not the ones talking to the other countries. It's the folks that we don't vote for. My car is going to run into a tree on the way home today.
Say it ain't
Whoopsies.
Whoops.
Now another plane crashed, I bet.
Here comes the car crash.
so weird.
Wild stuff. All right, let's transition to another path here. Still on the authoritarian train, though. It never stops. Chugga, chugga, choo, choo. All right, going to the next topic. Public schools are enforcing not only, okay, I could get behind a no tolerance enforcement rule for cell phones, but you're just not going to get me behind locking them in the lock bags. Brian, drop us video one first. Governor DeWine here in Ohio, he passed House Bill 250 requiring public schools to declare a cell phone policy.
Broad consensus today that cell phones in school are not good.
Yeah, okay. They're not good. Okay. That's one aspect to it. Brian, if you could go to the next video here, just as I kind of introduced the piece here. But what they're doing now is they're requiring kids to lock in their cell phones in these, you know, you've probably seen them at concerts and comedy shows more than anything. And it's to lock the kids' cell phones, and at the end of the day, you could go up to the magnet, which unlocks the phones, and you'd be able to access it. Of course, if you needed to get access to it during the school day, you'd be able to go to a teacher or a staff, and they'd be able to get you your phone, but under circumstances, and that's if Big Brother tells you okay. So, I love the pursuit of the boomers and the small geezers like DeWine. But the truth is, what happened to just having rules? Okay. So you're telling me the kids with free will that are going to your premise for education under their free will, we're going to make this even more authoritarian, not just have rules, but then we're going to lock away their cell phones. My problem with that is cell phones have become a tool for accountability. It has allowed students to catch teachers acting wild. What I don't like is, okay, the state does us a favor and it does us a service. And it's an important service, but I think that service has become such a fabric of our society that we've lost the relationship between us and the state. Like it's become such a piece of our life that we just take it as that's just our life. That's our law. They control us. They tell us what to do. But that's not the relationship here. I pay taxes. You do me the service, which is put on free local education for the youth. Now, I could seek out higher and better education and go to a private school, but this is a service that nonetheless I'm paying for, so I might as well take advantage of it. Most people do, not even because they may be able to afford private school, but most people will take advantage of it simply because you're already paying for it. Yeah. This being a service that you are paying for and is provided by the state, it's kind of a at-will relationship. These aren't prisoners. And here's the problem. We've got kids that, oh my gosh, darn it, can you believe it? That kids with high energy won't sit still and learn cosine? What? Pump him full of pills so he's numbed and won't move. I mean, I'm all for. In 8th grade, the iPhone came out. In 6th grade, I had a Razor flip phone. The Razor flip phone couldn't do anything. Really, that was to text and really just to look cool and show people that I had a cell phone. Mainly because they didn't. This was like cutting edge
You were
stuff,
you were a rich kid. If you went to my school and you had a Razor, you were a rich kid. You're a rich boy.
You should have seen the belt he had.
Oh.
We did have these light up belts. Shout out Uncle Michael. The belt buckle would say things. He had me swindling people at the Fiesta Bowl when Ohio State was in Arizona. I was selling these belt buckles. Just, you could have it say anything. Man, those were the days. Had a Razor. Anyway, couldn't really do much with a Razor. But when an iPhone comes out, the world changes. And Brian, before I continue my point, can you go to the next video there? It's the second one in. Nope.
This again?
Yeah. Oh, actually, go one more in. Yeah, go to that one. All right. Here's a series of teachers just being wild. You could play.
I need to go get him. No. Sit down. That is ridiculous. Okay, we are not using the calculator right now. When I say turn on your calculator and press Y equals, and not make comments and listen, because the questions you're asking are what I have just gone over.
I am so sick and tired of this. Every day I have to tell you guys to quit screwing around. How many times have I told you not to have your phone up? Give me your phone. Give me 6!
Like there's 8 minutes until spring break. Why would you
Now this
take my
one's
phone?
fake.
Because I hate them!
Or not.
No pomegranates. No pomegranates.
Oh?
Had it with the phones!
Okay. That definitely needs to be broadcast, like documented. Like here's where we got lucky. One positive aspect of the COVID, as we socially stunted and retarded all these kids, we also were able to kind of get parents a little peek inside of the classroom and seeing a lot of the BS that's being sold to them. And that's why school's curriculum has become such a topic as of recent, because people have their finger on the pulse better than they have in the past. Now, well, with all that being said, cell phones give us the ability to bring accountability into that classroom where we otherwise can't. And yes, we should. So as DeWine's House bill, it's requiring schools to declare a cell phone policy, whatever that policy may be. Okay, I agree. Make rules for it. And guess what? Here's a fact. I'm a bad boy. I've been in trouble too. Oh, oh my God. I can't believe I'm going to go out on a limb and say this publicly. This might be the craziest thing I say. I have had a detention. I have had a detention one time in my life. I'm sorry. And I'm getting chills that I'm going to say this.
With someone better.
It's done.
And the detention was for chewing gum.
Ooh.
Yeah. Put me away and throw away the key.
Mine was
You
for wearing
deserved it.
sweatpants on the day they canceled Sweatpants Day and didn't tell anyone.
Oh, I got away with that because I told Mr. Lesh that I got Gatorade on my sweatpants, and he yelled at me and didn't believe me. So then I had to dump red Gatorade on my pants, and I showed him. I go, see, haha, and I didn't get in trouble with that one. So look at that. I'm still on the run. I think the statute of limitations may have run, but I can't remember. But the gum one caught up to me. I wasn't able to escape that. But here's the thing. That's a dumb rule. But they need rules like that, and there's justification behind rules like that because, you know, kids are sticking gum under their desks, and we don't want to have to deal with the I don't know, graffiti or issues that come with gum going down drains and being places where it shouldn't. Okay. So you make a rule and kids break that rule and you put them in detention, damn it. I have to stay 30 minutes longer after school. That's what you get. That's the extent of taking my liberty, okay? You don't get to proactively stop even the ability of breaking that rule. What do I mean by that? You don't get to cut my tongue or sew my mouth shut because you want to proactively stop me from chewing gum. So if the rule is no cell phones and you want to stop me from having a cell phone at school, if that same thing is a tool to keep in contact with my parents in a liberty world, a world with preserved liberty where I am only at this building for my free will, and if I need to contact my mother because someone diddled me, or I'm not having a good time, or I'm injured, or I need my mommy, I should always have that ability. And secondly, if your teachers are in fact wildin', let me repeat that. If there are periods in time where a teacher be wildin' once, I get to have the ability to catch it anytime. And I will safely keep it away to not disrupt class. And at the point at which there is disruption, okay, I'm going to go all legal on you. Where do they get to infringe on your free will, your autonomy in a school building? How do they get to dictate speech? Like a social media post outside of school. That's outside of school. Well, if it reaches the schoolhouse gate. Okay, so that means you get to police what goes on in your building. You get to make rules, but you don't get to proactively imprison me. I'm not jailed here. I'm here at will. So I will listen to your rule with liberty. And at the point at which I break that rule, you can give me the consequences. And if I disagree with what those consequences may be, then I just won't participate in the public service that you're offering. But I think personally, locking the phones away is a step too far. Doug is jumping.
No, me and Will were laughing. You got in trouble for chewing gum, yet Foster poured acid down the drain and just got yelled at.
Dude, I totally forgot about
that. We were laughing. We immediately thought about it. Both of us were just laughing so hard. I was in class, and immediately he's just like, uh-oh. he told the teacher, she's like, that's going to eat all the drains. It's going to dissolve the drains. Nothing ever happened.
Yeah, but chewing gum is a felony of the detention degree. So, okay, before I go down that road further, Pickle Gallery, what are your thoughts? Ricky?
Man, my detention days are Hall of Fame, man. But this I feel like it's programming. The government is trying to program you to know that, all right, you're in school, we can take this from you at this time. You're a prisoner, as you said earlier. Like, why should I give up my phone? Give us the rule. If we don't abide the rule, we're in detention. Don't try to program me like, oh, I come to this building, you're taking my cell phone. Like, it's a cell phone is an extension of everybody's body nowadays. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? That's your bank account. That's all yours. Everything is on your phone. Your backup password. And I'm not even a parent yet, so I can't even put like if a parent say want to shoot their kid a quick text, I'm coming to get you. Something just happened. I gotta go through the school. Why can't I just shoot my kid a text, even though they're not supposed to have it during class? But it's for emergencies during this time span. Like, you're at school, it's for emergencies. You and parents are supposed to raise their kids like, you obey the rules during this time span. You don't be on your phone or shut the shit down as a parent where you can be in contact with only you and the kid. They've been doing that since the dawn of time when phones enter school. You set the time limit. But government overreach, this is an overreach now. Telling people, because it's just to start with a school, when they become 18, it's going to be a new law that goes in existence, and they're already programmed. See, oh, they can just tell me what to do, and I'm okay with it. It's not okay. It's not all right. Fuck them.
No, there's truth. Silent, what are you thinking?
I think that this is absolutely the most incorrect, extreme way to fix this problem. This is not the right way to go forward. I will tell you guys the story of how my high school fixed this problem with ease and with zero protest from the parents or the kids. Here's how they did it. Very simple. The second you enter the classroom, and there was only some teachers that participated in this, by the way. A lot of them still didn't care that kids were on the phone, and they just would tell them, hey, get off your phone. And then most of the time the kid would get off the phone. And if he doesn't, then it would get taken away, and then it would be given back to him at the end of the class. So a lot of our teachers, when you would walk in, you had a choice, right? You had a very simple choice. If you turn off your phone and you put the phone in the box in the beginning of class, right as you walk in before class starts, no, just a box, just an open box, like a cardboard box, right? You would get 5% of your grade automatically just by doing that every single time.
Oh, I hate that.
Right? But here's the thing. You hate that, right? But
I actually love that.
But you need to remember, you need to remember before this, this is BBM, right? People were on their Blackberries. Everybody was bidding, texting and pinging each other. But after they introduced this rule, we had zero disruptions, right? Almost everybody just listened, got their 5%, and they were incentivized to do that. And it worked. We had no disturbances in the class. Everybody learned, everybody paid attention. And everybody that participated, there were like a few people that didn't.
Okay,
got
and real
5%
quick,
of their grade.
So you know? let's just say 5% of my grade is mandatory phone in box. But my teacher has a rod up her ass every time somebody talks about a pomegranate. Pomegranate! I said no pomegranate! And let's say Kevin pulls out the video was played. We saw it happen. So if you have Kevin pull out a pomegranate again, and she just snaps, the pomegranate. If I don't have the ability to catch her backhanding Kevin, for the sake of, even if I got everything turned in and did 100%, I still get 90% of my grade. Because that I just want to catch the teacher screaming about pomegranate in the off chance she snaps, or I need to get picked up after football practice and I need to text my dad. Like, I'm sorry. This is a tool. Like Ricky said, this is an extension of my life. I think the manipulation with my grade is so much more severe. Oh my God. I'm sitting here having a temper tantrum over lock bags. If you made me do it for the sake of my grade, okay, I'm going to give this point, and then we should all just give our wrapping thoughts. If you were to walk up to me and say, in your world now, you are stuck with you're 14 and you got to put your phone in a lock bag. I'll go 16, just so some of the dorks on the internet don't go like, oh my God, what 14-year-old needs their phone? All right, 16 years old. I'm approached with this new rule saying you got to put it in the bag. I'm probably looking at my dad and going, Dad, I'm not putting it in the bag. Like, I'm going to say I don't have a cell phone. And so then that comes back on the school. What's your position with a kid that doesn't have a cell phone? Now you're going to get in that self-righteous position where there's nobody that doesn't have a cell phone today. I don't believe you. And so then the question begs, what are the repercussions for a student that gets caught with a phone not in a lock bag? Is it they just get put in a lock bag? If you start impacting my grade silent, I'm going to go crazy and not in a healthy way.
But that's where I'm saying,
look,
I'm gonna
have to. Sorry,
I don't mind if the school implements what they're implementing. It's just the simple fact it's the government forcing the school to implement something. Like, I'm pretty sure schools been implementing stop phone, like, different ways to stop kids using phones. But why does the government has to come into it? Like, put a law
less the
to it.
government and, more just the individual schools' policies for now. But, I mean, Silent, what were you going to say?
I just wanted to make it clear this was not like a hardcore rule by our school. This was negotiated by all the students and our teacher. And we all kind of like agreed that if we were to do this, there will be less disturbances in the classroom. And on the plus side, you would get 5% of your grade, right? And
I have a communist question. Was the classroom
democracy, not communism?
That's communism. Was the classroom really that negatively impacted, Silent?
See, here's the thing. It was, right? Like, this was a problem. So the solution to it was that we tied people's inability to get off their crackberries into their grade, and it worked. Like I said, this worked. No one complained.
Silent,
no one really
who's
protested.
texting you in class?
Right? Well, not me, because...
okay, so how's it impacting your school experience?
Well, I'm going to tell you. It's very disruptive when you're trying to learn and someone's BlackBerry keeps going off, right? Like I said, this was an issue, right? But the repair to this issue, I think, wasn't as extreme as, okay, you have to put your phone in a box and lock it the whole day. It was, okay, the class is 45 minutes. You just put you turn off your phone, you put it in the front of the class in a box, and problem solved. Everybody seemed to agree to it too, right?
Is that 45 minutes for just the one class, and then you're telling me you had 8 other periods where you weren't doing that, or?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Not every teacher agreed to this, right? Some of them said, no, I don't want to do this, right? And guess
a couple
what?
Of libertarians still hanging on there.
And guess what? In those classes, we had a lot more disturbances than in that one class that did this, right? My point is the reason I bring this up is if you are going to go to extremes, which this school clearly has, right? There are ways to go through extremes where it benefits the students too via their
love that
grades.
point.
You know what I mean? Like,
love that point.
And that's why I think like it worked for that one particular class. It worked. Students cooperated. Everybody agreed we're going to do it. And we did it, But to go to an extreme like that to where, okay, you got to like the second you walk in the building, your phone is locked in and that's it. You can't access it. I think that's way too extreme. But if we're gonna, so my point is,
go ahead, please.
My point is, there are ways to do this in an extreme manner, but there are also ways to do it where you get an incentive as a student in participating in this. Keep in mind, this was optional. You did not have to do this.
No, I very much appreciate that. The highlight from your point, the takeaway is that there's an acknowledgement that this is an extreme, but
it is.
To do an extreme in a healthy way.
Yes.
Again, let's just say your teacher starts going postal. I don't think you have a chance to run to the front of the room and grab your cell phone. Still think you're cooked.
Yeah, this was 2010 though. Keep in mind, this was pre-social
hey,
media. This
at
was
least you're still
pre cell phones having high quality cameras that can capture and record things, right? So that's probably why it worked back then. But I'm sure now something like that won't work. But I'm saying it's less extreme than locking your phone up all day.
100%.
You know what I mean? So,
totally agree. Doug, you're over there itching. What you got for me?
Well, dude, I don't get why schools just don't go the opposite route and embrace it and use it for like in schools. Like in college, we would use our phones like, well, there's 100 people in a room. So it was part of our attendance points as well. We'd answer questions throughout the class. Like, all right, now pull out your phone, go to open the app and answer, these questions. And then we,
the quizzes,
get points on like, there's ways to include the phone so that way they're not using it for that stuff and using it for like school stuff too. Like you can kind of include it in the classrooms a little bit now and then. You don't have to go to this extreme.
I mean, there's truth too. I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. But again, that takes a creative mind that takes the ability to, make fruits with what you're provided, and those that can't do teach. So we're just kind of dealing with a half deck, and we got to be happy with what we got. Damn it, Doug, stop expecting more out of them. David, wrapping thoughts.
All right. So I think this is probably going to be unpopular here for the rest of the room. I think this policy is probably an elegant solution to a growing issue. So this is in relation to high school education that children are forced into. There isn't I think the difference between this and college and other post-secondary education is the government is requiring you to be here in some way, shape, or form. Either you got to be in the classroom, you got to be homeschooled, you got to do something. And there is you can't go around it. So you're forced to be there. So that means I'm
not in jail. Well, I'm not in jail.
Well, you don't quite have the same rights.
But again, man, I wish I had it prepared. But if you've seen the videos or the collages of classrooms, how they look like, community rooms in jails. If you look at the cafeterias, how they look like cafeterias in jails, how the lunches look like lunches in jail. Everything about it is to simulate the I guess sterilization and I don't know the implication. We'll go sunny in Philadelphia.
And I think there's a couple ways around that. So, because it's the tax, so we can't have two things at once. You can't have beautiful architecturally designed schools that really embrace kind of the cultural community and real arts culture of environmental learning, and at the same time be cheap. Those two things don't go in contrast.
Yes, somehow we are.
But we bitch about, shit's too damn expensive. We're spending too much of our taxpayer dollars.
Jails, no one wants to pass a levy.
Yeah, jails are actually quite an efficient way to build buildings and are pretty cheap. And because it's on our dime, because we kind of bitch, and we don't want these. Colleges, a lot different. Because it's not just on the taxpayer dime. There's a lot of different mechanisms in which funding, if you got a football team, you get a little extra funding from the football team. If you got, you have these tuitions, we bitch about college tuitions. Part of that's just because, government's writing a blank check, but also they're encouraging people to come here. With school, you're locked in.
Oh, I'm coming.
You can't just pick up and choose a different school.
Don't come. Oh, I'm
going to want to. So the cell phones are going to be a bit of an issue. And I think everyone in this room and everyone in the Pickle Galley can probably agree, your child's in school, you want them paying the fuck attention. You want them learning, and not every teacher is doing, going off the rails, being crazy. They're usually triggered by a certain student that really knows how to press their buttons. And a lot of these clips that we see are, I think, taken out of context. That it's like the police officer that you get the one bad day of the police officer, but no, he's triggered by the same person over and over and over until he snaps. Well, we're getting a lot of snaps. Makes for good content. Makes for it makes for a viral moment. But for a learning environment, you're just trying to learn how the government works. And some kid's like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I want to bother the class because I think it's fun. I want to avoid that. And I think we can all agree here. We want our children to at least be educated in a normal sense.
Wait,
This
time
isn't
out.
what-
Boo, bad point,
All right.
point. What makes it a bad point? That kid's going to disrupt class no matter what. So like you're locking away my sister and I, every time we'd go to a restaurant, strangers would come up to us, right? When we were like 5, 6, 7, my sister's 3 years younger than me. They'd come up to us and strangers would come up to us and go, "Your kids are so well behaved. Oh my God." And I just thought that was life. I just kind of thought that's what everybody experienced until I learned you're all monsters. And that's the fact. And so we stand out. And so I'm saying if you've got a kid that can keep their iPhone in their pocket and sits there and wants to engage in class and continues to work the muscle that is their brain and is a sophisticated member of the growing future society, how dare you lock their phone up when there is a menace that is going to be a wreckage to that classroom, regardless of the tool they use? So I'm going to be honest with you. I trailed off there a minute. I don't even know how you said they would use their cell phone to disrupt it, because in my opinion, that's a moot point. I say that because that kid is going to be a menace no matter what. And I still think this is an overstep of enforcing, or this comes back to the gum. The gum thing's crazy. You shouldn't be getting detentions for gum. What are you going to do? Cut their tongues out so they can't chew gum? Like, I'm sorry, but the reality is they may be able to break the rule, but they're not in jail. Do you guys remember Bianca Ellis? The crazy bitch that just walked up and stabbed a child in the neck at Giant Eagle? Oh, yeah. The girl in Cleveland that's kind of got a record of doing that. You understand we're in a free world. Like, she has the ability to just walk up and do that. Then the rules are applied. Like, bad. And we put you in a cage. Or you're driving to work. You know, at any moment, you do have the free will to just go, oop, and just go right into the other lane. You can. You don't. So they're not in jail. You don't get to infringe on liberty for the sake of preventing the breakage of a rule that hasn't been broken yet. You need to give them the liberty to break a rule, then enforce it. Give them detention. You can't chew gum. You don't chew gum. If you chew gum, you get a detention. You must go to class. If you skip class, you get a detention. I mean, come on. There's 15-year-olds smoking cigarettes behind their school. They get caught. They don't get their fingers cut off. They don't get their lungs punctured so they can't smoke a cigarette ever again. The reality is kids break rules. They're at a period in their life where they're trying to test the limits. They're testing authority. That is the instinct and nature of dealing with the age group and element that you are. And then you're going to sit there and preemptively enforce a law on free will liberty children. I don't agree with that.
I think the kids that are breaking rules, we're starting to understand now too, is that if you have nothing to lose and you're not losing anything, you can just continue to break the rules. And if if detention doesn't work, well, I'll just skip detention. What are you going to do? You can't kick me out. And by law, I have to be here. So you have to accept me in here. There is a certain point where you can get expulsion, but that's just because you have your phone in class doesn't mean you're going to get expelled all the time. So
Right. Hold on. The kid that takes a chair and smashes someone in the cafeteria does not get expelled. Okay. We're taking that on balance with surfing Instagram. Blah, 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 blah. So, Silent, I love you, big dog, but I'm also not going to sit here and pretend that that's truly disrupting. If I'm sitting here bored as hell because my brain is superior to the room's and I'm bored, I did the homework. Unlike the dunces that showed up today and are just kind of winging it, I read the book. So she's kind of just doing the repeat. If I'm bored, and that comes back to the great equalizer, that is competition. Like, if I still don't pay attention and pass the tests, that's a Silent problem. That's not a me problem. And so all I'm saying is what you're trying to truly stop. Okay. When the cell phone is pulled out of the pocket and thrown at the back of your head, whoa. Until then, we need to agree that the surfing of Instagram or even a group chat amongst several of the students in the classroom is truly not disrupting your ability to be productive in that room. And so I stand by the fact that you are not in jail. You have the free will to break a rule, like show up to school early and sneak behind the school and smoke a cigarette. You have the ability to not show up to class and skip 5th period. Oh my gosh, can you believe there were kids in this world that would skip class, go buy a pizza, and come back to English class? Oh my God, put them in jail. What are you going to do, pop my tires? Yeah, no pizzas and lunch. I'm just saying, you can't preemptively take away my liberty.
Well, you're having a phone's not a right. That's not in the Constitution. It's not in the Bills of Rights.
Boo point.
But it is my property.
Phone
I'm
on you.
entitled to my property.
You have it in the bag.
In the Constitution. David, in the Constitution, I'm entitled to my property. And my cell phone is my property.
It's not illegal property, right? If I can have a comb, okay, there's never been a fight in the 60s. I can have my comb. So guess what? I can have my cell phone.
But you didn't buy the cell phone. Most like 9 times out of 10, you're not. It's a parent's phone.
Boo point.
You
Boo
didn't
point.
Legally, that's where it's gonna go.
Possession.
No, not in
L's
this
in the
case.
chat.
You're not.
L's in the chat.
You're not paying for the monthly bill. There's all sorts of records and documentations that your name.
I'm
is
sorry.
on.
Kels, you're lying. You're
Let
lying
me-
yourself, Kels.
Let me just make a point. I think a phone sound going off every few seconds is disruptive, Alex. I'm gonna have to disagree with you. That is
phone
very
going
disruptive.
off, sure.
That is very disruptive.
Hold on. Anybody seen Dumb and Dumber? You ever hear the most annoying sound in the world? Guess what? That's just as disruptive, Silent. You can't cut my tongue out. It comes back to, okay, I would have girls that would show up in 11th grade late to class every day with their Starbucks cup.
Facts. And
because they
that's
work
why they have
for
detention.
Starbucks. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's the
Which
nature of
is-
the beast. I forgot to put my phone on silent.
Which
You know
is
what I
easier
would
though?
love?
Which is
I would love to accidentally not put my phone on silent, so it's nice and loud, and it's in the lockbox, and the teacher's just scrambling, like, well, run to the office so we can shut it off. Like, this doesn't make any sense.
Well, you still get to keep your phone on you. They're not taking your phone. Because I can imagine how this policy went. It's like, well, we got to put your phone in your locker. No. People steal out of my lockers. I don't want to have it. Got to have my phone on me.
That did happen.
Yeah,
that did happen.
It happens all. I mean, it happens all. God, did it leave your phone on a table and you're in a food court? Yeah, someone's probably gonna steal it.
So I had this razor. Remember? Yeah, we talked about that. Had this razor in my track locker. It was stolen, and then the guy bought a whole bunch of Corno and put it on.
Oh, right on your wow. Is that what you told your parents, huh?
Oh no! Oh, dude, listen, it was gone. My dad was able to trace the credit card, and we found them.
Oh man, that was a battle at the Gurgat household. It's like, no, mom and dad, I didn't buy this corn. It was someone else that bought it. I don't have the phone on me. Look at it. I'm into lesbians, and this guy's buying threesomes. I don't know. This isn't me.
I could actually picture the room that conversation.
Oh, I can
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was a battle. Trace the credit card. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I don't even have it. I can't enjoy it.
So I just need to attest to the fact razors and other devices can and will be stolen from lockers. Again, I was harmless with my cell phone in my pocket. First off, oh my gosh, talk about a loophole when it was my iPod. Ha! Kids don't have that shit no more.
Oh, yeah.
I got to look at this lady in study hall and be like, oh no, silly goose, it's an iPod. And she's like, oh,
cellular.
shit. Well, okay, I don't get it. And you're like, yeah, no, you don't get it. And so, talk about living in the gray area. What a time. I feel so bad for these kids. And again, I wasn't disruptive. Silent. Sorry to break it to you. My phone didn't go off in class.
Well, just because you're not disruptive doesn't mean like 5 other people aren't. And they're sharing each other memes. Everyone's giggling. Like, oh, what's going on? It can be you're putting every time the teacher starts just hey, put that phone away. Oh, I gotta get the phone out. I gotta let you. It starts becoming a culture of, well, I need a gotcha. And it just entices these kids. It's like when we have like when TikTok trend, you remember planking, which is fairly harmless compared to like the Tide Pods. You start getting to a point where
whoa, planking balanced with Tide Pods. Generational divide.
You start getting a trend, and well, I got to get my teacher on. I got or even the more harmful ones, like the Kia Boys. That's all just internet clout. They're doing it for internet clout, and it's fun. And because there is truly no consequences because they are minors. They can just put them in jail for a couple of days, and that's it. They get out, they can do it again because they don't care about they don't.
How about that? Catch me inside a school. How about that? All right. I will allow you to lock up all of the phones. All phones locked up. The second, just like a cop body cam, every classroom has a 12-hour-a-day camera that I can subpoena or record request at any point. My kid comes home and claims some fuckery. I get that recording. You can put my kid's cell phone in a vat of Jell-O. I don't care. Can't access it. If I can have a record of what transpired in that classroom, and I don't need my kid to rely on that tool for accountability, boom, you got it. Is that a fair compromise?
Were we holding teachers accountable in like the 90s and 80s? Like, what was the what's the linchpin here?
David, damn it! Did you not hear Cat Williams at the turn of the year? This is not 1995. This is the year of accountability. So, in the spirit of that, I just want to say, put cameras in the public school classrooms. Hey,
do we want school had cameras, though? By the way, I don't know if I'm for that.
No, if the parents get if it's public policing and not the Orwellian teachers policing.
Well, for every camera that's on a person of authority, it's also a camera on you. Probably really 2 cameras on you.
Probably better.
Do we? Is that really what we want?
10 minutes on disruptive children.
Yeah.
What is going to bring accountability to disruptive children?
That's the problem. There really isn't. Because you're forced to be there by law.
Ooh.
There isn't someone's disruptive at the Ohio State University. We'll just kick them out. Yep, sorry, your tuition. Sorry, that's money. I get to keep that money. You're without it. But child at school, if someone truly wants to be disruptive and unruly, there's really nothing you can do about it. So you got to limit their ability to be disruptive and unruly. And if we get to a point where
a camera's going to do that.
A camera's going to do
David, we've been hearing about class clowns since the dawn of time. Like they, without cell phones, before we was like, before phone got populated in school, there's class clowns. They gonna make jokes. They're gonna bang their books. They're gonna, they're gonna find a way to play Kobe.
Do you think if they had a phone, it would probably be more effective in their class clownery?
No,
you really don't think so?
No, dude. Do you know how effective they were with just what they could get their hands on?
So you got to limit their tools. You can't take away a textbook.
Dude,
take away a pencil.
The cell phone is. I'm sorry, that's been the crux of my argument to you and Silent. The cell phone is a non-tool. Do you know how disruptive I was able to be just with the girl's hair on my desk in front of me? Oh my God. I could keep myself entertained for 40 minutes.
With a straw from lunch.
We're talking.
And you're balling up with little balls and spinning balls.
I was about to say spitballs. Dude, you could take a little piece of your eraser and just, honestly, you've taken away an element of creativity for these kids. There was a whole aspect of creativity of how are you going to keep yourself bored or entertained in this aggressively boring prison cell? And none of it had a cell phone. I don't know, Ricky, I'm with you.
I was a disturber. I was the menace in class. My parents didn't give me a cell phone. So I know there's tons of way we can be disruptive in class. I was the one that was disruptive.
I was the one.
So you can be even more
I
disruptive with
understand.
the cell phone. That doesn't take away the
With the
fact that
cell phone,
you
I
agree with
think I'll
this?
be more
Isn't it
calm
right with
because
this?
I'll be
You
on my
more
cell
disruptive
phone.
with the cell phone.
I'll be more on the
Oh,
cell
I can
phone
be
doing what I'm
just
doing
as
and not paying attention to the teachers more than being disruptive in the class. I'll be doing my own thing. The teacher will be mad that I'm doing my own thing on the phone, but I won't be bothering the class. The only way I'm bothering the class is when the teacher says something to me.
Brother,
Then she's
Ricky,
stopping the
we're
whole
talking
class.
about a world. I'm sitting here. I'm like, dude, you know what I can do with chalk dust? And you're just like, oh, wait, that doesn't exist anymore. Like, the classroom doesn't even have chalk. We're
digital, baby.
There's nothing there to disrupt. And you're sitting here saying, like, unless I'm just like cell phone, poof, I don't know what this really can do to you. If I'm in a chat, okay, you're either going to be broken by FOMO because you don't have friends that you're in a chat with, or you're such a social butterfly that you're like, damn it, my social existence and my giant wings soaring are going to cripple my ability to learn because all the hot babes in class are going to be chatting with me. Dude, it's either you're the hermit and it's going to have no impact, or you're just awesome. And that's just the element of living the life of Fonzie.
Well, I think the other part of it too is we honestly want the children in schools to pay attention to math, science, history. Really, I understand like social shit. All right, whatever. Let's put that to aside for a second. We want every child in the United States to understand how the government works. All right. Do you agree?
Very much so.
Yes. So if they're on their phones dicking off and just texting all sorts of different people, making TikToks, just causing problems, are they really learning how the government works? I think we want everyone to understand how APR works, how interest rates work, how basic accounting math works. I think we can all agree we want our children and we want our children's friends to understand how that works, because that makes for a better environment.
Okay, my counter to what you just said is, though, we didn't learn about those things necessarily in high school. In high school, I was learning about the Pythagorean theorem.
You actually learn about government in high school. Don't even argue with me, because you did. It's legally required for every high school to learn government. It's in your senior year classroom. Now, whether the teacher is good at teaching you government, that's a different story. That's a different question. We're not arguing if your teacher's good.
My government teacher
That's all
represents us.
My government teacher was the best. Yours probably the worst. I don't know.
He's a representative, right, Doug?
Yep.
But
Senator Brennan, right? Isn't he a senator? No, he's a representative.
But the ability,
No,
like
he's
understanding
House
long
representative.
division does help you understand how to do accounting math and percentagerial math. Understanding some of that, whether it's in the context.
Do you know how to
of
file your taxes?
Yes, I do.
No, I mean from school.
From
No.
school? Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Not at all.
And again, it goes
Is that the only thing worth learning in school, though? How to file the taxes? Really?
Okay.
Not how to
okay.
use the English
Let's get to the
language?
crux of the purpose. The mission statement is you want to learn how to learn, right?
And
so that way, it doesn't matter what the concept is that you're learning, you have the ability to take it on. That's the purpose of school. So it truly doesn't matter the curriculum or what it is that you're learning. It's that you're learning how to think. And the truth is, the bar isn't very high. I don't know if you realize that, but like our scoring in education is pretty low. Like we're not brilliant. And so for the people that take it serious, like those are the ones that we care about, right? Like David is if we're golfing, you are totally in the weeds. You are off the rough. You are gone past the trees. Yep. And you're over there saying the mitigating factors that we have no control over that are disrupting class. Like one, we agree. Something that is the consensus here is you can't control that. That's the element of being open to everybody. Okay, so if you can't get rid of them, why in any way are they the focus of our dialogue? If the focus of our dialogue, opening the Rethink Tank Live today, is 7 people dropping from the sky that are hopefully going to cure cancer, well, wouldn't the goal of a society be to have more than 7. So then maybe one plane doesn't just totally cripple us. Like, oh God, there it goes. There it goes. Couple more generations of grandmas and grandpas go away. And children have tumors too. Just because we only got 7 people that have the education. The goal of our society should be to be focusing on the redeemable ones that are having a positive impact on the society. So if that's the case, let's focus the conversation on them. And I get lost in the weeds of the folks that are agreeably, inevitably going to be disruptive. And not much we can do to deter that factor in the classroom. So if it's going to manifest itself in any way, whether it's like Ricky said, a spitball or it's a cell phone, talking about the people that are leaving these systems with a sophisticated ability to learn. They go into university, then they go into graduate school, and they can grow or get their master's. They go into higher education. There's people that even just become professional students and just continue to get degrees until they exhaust themselves. For those people, school really isn't that difficult. I mean, there's a lot of truth to we all have different things come easy to us in different ways. Some physically, some academically, whatever that case may be. I only say that because if somebody is able to be a productive member, leave that system with the phone in their pocket, never being disruptive, and the measurement that the service we pay for, education, was utilized and did not have a negative impact on those around them or its society, the mechanism at which you measure that is the success of that individual. So if you can look at somebody who is a high functioning member of your society that has a political seat in your community that has a positive influence, and they can tell you they had their cell phone accessible in their pocket, so, oh gosh darn, they were able to text their dad in between class or use it as an iPod during study hall. If there are case studies in which it is possible to use the tool that is the education service and come out high functioning and did not have a negative impact, then it tells you that this cannot be a one-size-fits-all universal rule across the board, and you need to police it, as most policies in school are, with if I can go and give the kid in my classroom a black eye, and the most is not jail, but like detention, in-school suspension, even at worst, out-of-school suspension, like you don't get to throw me in. What's a detention? That's the closest to jail, right? But it's temporary. At some point, I still get my liberty back. I still get to go back into school. So I just feel like you can't preemptively enforce laws. And if there are case studies in which functioning members of society are able to not be disruptive and balance these tools in their life with a high productive classroom, then you need to understand this is not a one-size-fits-all policy law that you should enforce.
Well, I agree. This isn't a one-size-fits-all, but probably for every student that can keep their phone in their pockets and learn and do things functionally without issues, there's a student that also just can't help themselves. And hey, if we take away the phone, they're probably more likely to be a better member of society. And I'm willing, I'm not authoritarian, but I'm willing to sacrifice some kids' cell phone time between the time of, 8 a.m. to 2, 3 p.m. for, 9 months out of the year so that they can be better functioning members of society. I'll make that risk. I think that's perfectly fine. So we got to remember, these aren't, technically the Constitution doesn't really apply to individuals who are less than 18 years old or seen in the environment as an adult. It just doesn't. That's David? We've heard that in school and in law. Also doesn't, the law just doesn't apply to minors the same way as it does regular individuals. They don't have the same rights.
That's fine. You're one-way ticket to China is purchased and ready for you. Brian, do you have any wrapping thoughts for us?
Yeah. So the pomegranate thing, I think some in context, fruit in general has a high tendency to
freak people out.
Probably be a problem if it becomes a problem, and I understand why
No pomegranates. No,
this happens.
There's some asshole probably trying to eat a pomegranate every day, and it just gets everywhere. And he's intentionally doing it everywhere. He's like, "Well, I'm sorry. You can put me to detention, but I just won't show up." And then this snapped. Just snapped. Every one of us has had a teacher that snapped because some smart ass just kept just poking that button until he got too inflated and just snapped.
Right.
Yep. That's where I was going with it. She probably had a bad seed in there, and some kid was just spitting pomegranates all over her class, left all the cover and insides of the pomegranate all over the place, didn't have garbage can accessible, and became a problem.
So Brian,
Yes,
that being your point about pomegranates, my
Yes.
question for you is, do you then find it good or bad that students were able to have a cell phone to catch her snap about the pomegranate?
Oh, I think students should have their phones at all times, unless if it becomes a problem.
Vote for me for president. Great choice, Brian. That was great.
I knew this would be an unpopular opinion that I had here.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you know. All right, let's get into our final topic here, which the overarching point is how Elon Musk was approached by the UK that they intend to take legal action if folks are offended by his interview on X with the Big Don. Now, that being said, this all kind of stems from a recent law that was passed by the UK. The UK government warns to think before you post amid threats to arrest citizens for offensive rhetoric on social medias. So the Sky News has been reporting that the government of the United Kingdom is actively cracking down on people who have shared footage of the recent wave of protests. The government of the United Kingdom warned its citizens this week to be careful of posting material deemed offensive, threatening imprisonment of those who incite, quote, hatred. The Crown Prosecution Service posted a warning to social media platform on X, warning citizens to think before you post amid ongoing riots that have been fracturing the country. And this was a quote taken from the government. Content that incites violence or hatred isn't just harmful, it can be illegal, the government agency wrote. The CPS takes online violence seriously and will prosecute when the legal test is met. Remind those close to you to share responsibly or face the consequences. Unfortunately, I believe we have now lost the ability to retain all UK Rethink Tank fans. But this is a scary world to live in, because the question begs, like, how long until that's a limit, a line we need to concern ourselves with? Like, this, you very quickly are reminded how Great Britain in the UK is like a very authoritarian state, and then they wonder why their citizens take arms and have to like throw their weight around. But this being reflected first in a recent case. So there was this legal case that just came about as soon as the law was passed. This legal case was brought about on this gentleman. Just get skibbity boo boo. We have the video here. I lost. Oh, here we go. The UK man was jailed to 20 months over a Facebook post urging attacks on migrant hotels. It was under the category of racial hatred. Now, here's the thing. This is how authoritarian governments get away with this thing, right? Like, they can do the most outrageous sentence civil law has ever seen in American history, because it's against a bad guy like AJ Jones. I don't want to say his name. AJ.
Oh, okay. All right.
Alex. The big man frogs Jones.
There you go. Lives
So,
in Austin.
I think there's enough spaces there that you can't tell who I was saying. But you can go ahead and you use the arm of the civil authority of our government to make like the most egregious precedent ever. Make over $1 billion sentence against defamation and hate speech and speech online. That's where it starts. And it's easily digested and accepted by the society and the public because, it's just AJ. It's just the terrible guy. It's just the villain. And it just makes sense. Don't be crazy out there. They won't come get you. And that's where it starts. And again, I think we've reflected on this metaphor way too many times, but it's like the frog in cold water. If you just throw a frog in boiling water, the frog knows to jump out. But if you put the frog in cold water and then slowly heat the water to boiling, the frog is boiling and dead before it knows that the water is too hot. It's that gradual change. It doesn't know that its atmosphere is dangerous before it's too late. And that's what we're dealing with here. Is it starts off with, you shouldn't be saying anything crazy about the shenanigans our government is doing with refugees at our hostels. Like, you better, and at your hotels that you're paying for. And if you say anything about it, you're going to go to, how long until this leads and justifies the camps, the assimilation camps, to get you to, assimilate to the doctrine and perspective of the state? So first, Brian, if you could take us to this video here. This is the gentleman's sentencing.
You have been committed for sentence, having pleaded guilty to.
They still wear the wigs.
How funny is that?
Material, which is threatening, abusive, or insulting, intending thereby to stir up racial hatred. The context of your offending is that it arises out of the civil unrest and disorder in many parts of the United Kingdom. On the night of the 2nd and 3rd of August, the Britannia Hotel in Leeds was attacked by people who threw missiles which damaged windows. The police were called, and on the 3rd of August, the hotel was locked down for the protection of those who were living there. At the time, there were 210 occupants, many of whom were foreign refugees and asylum seekers. Similar attacks to the hotel were launched on the 4th of August. The police attended on each occasion, and units were deployed to safeguard the hotel and to provide an increase in the police presence in the area. In between the two attacks, you took to social media in order to encourage others towards participation in the attacks upon the hotel. As is recognised on your behalf, this offence is so serious that an immediate custodial sentence is unavoidable. Would you stand, please? The sentence that I pass has been reduced by 1/3 to reflect your guilty plea. The sentence is one of 20 months imprisonment. You will serve up to 1/2 of your sentence in custody before you are released on licence. If you fail to abide by the conditions of your licence, you can be returned to prison to serve some or all of the remainder of the custodial term.
This
Victim
guy's
surcharge
crazy.
will apply, and I will make a collection order.
I just don't know how you take yourself serious with that wig.
Yeah, that's
This is wild. That's, I think, the craziest part of this whole thing. But like, this is setting a standard that you got to ask yourself, where does it end? Again, it starts with, you said some crazy stuff in between attacks. Okay. I think most people could go, you're not overstepping too much. But it's when you start looking at like the language of the laws, right? it then just starts saying content that incites violence or hatred isn't just harmful, it can be illegal. Okay, normally when it says inciting violence, there needs to be like a damage, something measurable, tangible, physical there. The part of this language that makes me worried is content that incites hatred. How do you measure an emotion within someone? And at what point is there enough hatred that exceeds the level to which legal intervention is appropriate? And that question comes into play when not far after the first egregious act, they start using it against political actors. I mean, think about this. The UK is a totally different government from the United States. I don't know if you realize that we blow off fireworks once a year to remind you of that fact. And yet we're going to allow the UK to sit here and intervene in our political democracy. We're going to sit here and say the people in red hats are stealing democracy. But then the UK can warn Elon Musk and say, hey, now you might be doing some tests on you might be testing your platform over there and doing an interview with a presidential candidate, to which will be a significant one in the next 3 months. But if anybody is incited in hatred, that AKA, if anybody is offended by what you say, we could take legal action with you in our country. And so then that begs the question, let's say they don't like me. They don't like the Rethink Tank. They just don't like what we got going on over here. Does that mean, like, if I go to take a trip to Dubai, I can't have like a layover now in the UK? I can't go to the UK? Is that what the game we're going to be playing? Is I'm a free man in the United States doing what is within my right and legal, doing nothing that's danger. No, again, measurable, physical, tangible damage. And yet what? I'm going to have to be worried about being thrown in handcuffs the day I have a layover there in London. So, Brian, I think I had the picture still up, if you could. It may have been, I don't know if it was closed, but there's a letter here from the European Commission. And if this was written to Elon Musk, and this was dated August 12th, 2024. Let me have some water here because this is a long one.
It's a lengthy
I am writing to you in the context of recent events in the United Kingdom and in relation to the planned broadcast on your platform X of a live conversation between a U.S. presidential candidate and yourself, which will also be accessible to users in the EU. I understand that you are currently doing a stress test of the platform. In this context, I'm compelled to remind you of the due diligence obligations set out in the Digital Service Act, the DSA, as outlined in my previous letter. As the individual entity ultimately controlling a platform with over 300 million users worldwide, of which 1/3 in the EU, that has been designed as a very large online platform, you have the legal obligation to ensure X's compliance with EU law and in particular with the DSA in the EU. This notably means ensuring, on one hand, that freedom of expression and of information, including media freedom and pluralism, are effectively protected, and, on the other hand, that all proportionate and effective mitigation measures are put in place regarding the amplification of harmful content in connection with relevant events, including live streaming, which, if unaddressed, might increase the risk profile of X and generate detrimental effects on civic discourse and public security. This is important against the background of recent examples of public unrest brought about by the amplification of content that promotes hatred, disorder, incitement of violence, or certain instances of disinformation. It also implies, 1, informing EU judicial and administrative authorities without undue delay on measures taken to address their orders against content considered illegal according to national and/or EU law. 2, taking timely, diligent, non-arbitrary, and objective action upon receipt of notice by users considering certain content illegal. Thirdly, informing users concerning measures taken upon receipt of the relevant notice. Fourthly, publicly reporting about content moderation measures. In this report, I note that the DSA obligations apply without exception or discrimination to the moderation of the whole user community and content of X, including yourself as a user with over 190 million followers, which is accessible to EU users and should be fulfilled in line with the risk approach of the DSA, which requires greater due diligence in case of foreseeable increase of the risk of profile. As you know, formal proceedings are already ongoing against X under the DSA, notably in areas linked to the dissemination of illegal content and the effectiveness of measures taken to combat disinformation. As the relevant content is accessible to EU users and being amplified also in our jurisdiction, we cannot exclude potential spillovers in the EU. Therefore, we are monitoring the potential risks in the EU associated with the dissemination of content that may incite violence, hatred, and racism in conjunction with major political or social events around the world, including debates and interviews in the context of elections. Let me clarify that any negative effect of illegal content on X in the EU, which could be attributed to the ineffectiveness of the way in which X applies the relevant provisions of the DSA, may be relevant in the context of the ongoing proceedings and of the overall assessment of X's compliance with EU law. This is in line with what has already been done in recent past, for example, in relation to the repercussions and amplification of terrorist content or content that incites violence, hate, or racism in the EU, such as in the context of the recent riots in the United Kingdom. I therefore urge you to promptly ensure the effectiveness of your systems and report measures taken to my team. My services and I will be extremely vigilant to any evidence that points to breaches of the DSA and will not hesitate to make full use of the toolbox, including by adopting interim measures, should it be warranted, to protect EU citizens from serious harm. Yours sincerely, Linda Yarcarino, CE. And so, what was Elon Musk's response? Bring it. That's all he said. Bring it. So he had this interview, and it was, I guess, some people really liked it. It was just an interview. And so here's the scary part. All of that for like pretty much a dead issue, a non-issue. For serious voters in this election, for people in this room that actually are considering voting for Donald Trump, but really are reluctant to do so, I'm sure. I don't know anybody that really listened to it. If anything, we all heard clips of it, and none of it was really that groundbreaking.
No, I keep going on the fact of, as you're reading that out loud, as I've read it, let's just replace Elon Musk with CNN, Don Lemon, I don't know, whoever, Anderson Cooper, doesn't matter. Same questions, just do the same thing. He's not asking like, why do you hate immigrants so much? Our immigrants are bad. Tell me more. Why? I didn't ask that. It was just I don't want to say just a conversation, but you replace Elon Musk with someone of the left, and all of a sudden, this is okay. Yeah, this is fine. It seems like there is a bit of, since he's taken over Twitter, that a lot of these governments have a little bit less control, at least to the extent that they want to have it. And they're just kind of irritated about the whole thing. So they're going to send these letters, going to make grandiose opinions about it. And it's just, it just silliness. It's not, it's a bad look for the EU. But I kind of somewhat understand where they're coming from, because their base is like, well, he says something bad about immigrants. All of a sudden, God, the French are just going to be all sorts of protesty. They've been really on the edge lately. And I don't know, are they trying to prevent that? Ultimately, what's the repercussions of this? Nothing. What's the worst EU's really going to do? They're going to shut down X.
They're
No, not.
arresting people.
Well, they're not specific. I get where you're coming from on that end, but not specifically here. They're not arresting Elon Musk. They're not arresting Donald Trump.
Okay.
For this specific interview. But again,
do I agree? Is it more of a flashy article title more than it is a reality? I'm sure.
Yeah.
But the fact that they have the ability to and are willing to publicly draw the lines that which could arrest pivotal political world figures. Elon Musk is bigger than just the United States. He's a worldwide figure. Donald Trump is an American icon for some, a villain for others, but definitely
worldwide figure.
He's a worldwide figure. Yeah. So when you have these people that could whether or not, I don't even want to go down the road of the debate of whether they actually are or not. The fact that the authoritarian arm or regime is willing to, or has the ability to, even if they didn't want to, throw these people in jail, arrest them, or create the threat to do so simply because they want to deter a behavior or stifle a political ideology or perspective. That's petrifying. And the language of the letter, I respect, that's a dry, long letter. But to me, it felt worthy of going through it all. One, because truthfully, come on. You really don't get that stuff anywhere. Like you and I both know, you are not really doing that anywhere else. So like you could take 3 minutes to like think about something complex for a minute. And I think there's a lot in that. It's pretty dense. But like there was a couple lines of like, man, I wish I could highlight that. But using one, you have to inform the judicial and administrative authorities without undue delay. Okay, you just arbitrarily made that. And what does that mean? I mean, and then one again, that comes with legal authority. Taking timely, diligent, non-arbitrary, and objective action upon receipt of notices by users considering certain content illegal. So again, if you guys recall, there was an episode just 1 or 2 episodes ago where we showed a tweet of Joe Rogan showing, I think, Denmark or another European nation that put him under threat for you must monitor and censor this information or else. And he goes, look at these people are threatening legal action too. And we're just going to fight it. We're not going to succumb. Like here's the reality. And I think it's this statement. I'm not the first to say it, but it's getting louder and louder progressively. I mean, Elon Musk has done the most and is currently doing the most to preserve the fight against freedom and free marketplace of ideas. Like freedom of speech has been preserved with this new Twitter. As much as it's kind of a debacle, it's kind of a less smooth ship than it was before. That comes with the clunkiness of free people. Like it feels more free than before. And some of it's kind of a facade. I mean, you can't totally trust Elon Musk. He seems to be a bit nefarious too. I mean, that dude has like a 2.5-year-old Satan picture as his profile picture. Like that can't go undiscussed. That goes undiscussed way too much. That's jacked up. But hey, whatever. But X itself, it disclosed a lot. I mean, I've wanted to do, and I hope to soon, do a full breakdown of the Twitter files. Yeah. I mean, you go through that stuff. This man paid $1 billion for us to see behind the veil. And what we all assumed to be like, it's kind of like, hey, guys, I think there's roaches behind this wall. Not too bad. But I'm seeing like 1 or 2 come out from under, and I think we got like a few roaches back here. And then you pull the wall down, and it's just a whole wall of roaches. Like it's entirely worse than you could have ever imagined. You thought you might have just like need to call the exterminator. You need to deconstruct and completely rebuild. You come to learn that the government is in complete cahoots with this social media company. They have complete relationship, no autonomy.
it's bad. You have congressmen directly emailing people within high authority of Twitter, basically saying like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" You know, like, even if it's in defense of, I think the one I'm specifically thinking of is the California congressman who they were going to take down the Joe Biden laptop thing, or it's like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And it looks a little odd. He says that. And he's a California Democratic congressperson. In the direct, like just the casualness of it all, too. It's not he's got to go through several layers and then finally get to the person. It's one email, and it's like he's talking on his phone during like a dinner date or something. It's odd, and it really just dispelled really put a lot of light on just how intertwined it really is, and it's rough, crazy,
right.
And that's just what we saw, not all the other, like what's the back channel messages, what's the direct, we just saw the company emails, not the text messages like, hey, you should probably do this, that, and the other.
Let's take it to the pickle gallery. Ricky, what do you got?
So
Silent, what do you got?
Okay, so that letter was the most pointless, unnecessary letter ever, in my opinion, because as Musk said, like, bring it. Like, what are you guys going to do? He owns the platform now. This is his website. Like, there's nothing that you guys can do. And we all know that ever since buying Twitter, and it's been backed up with data that Twitter themselves have released, Musk has been complying with the governments to take down posts way more than before he bought Twitter as well, too. That's been proven. So I don't understand, like, why there's like such a threatening tone in that letter, in the sense that he hasn't been already complying with governments to take down posts that like may incite violence or whatever. Like, that's been known that Elon has been kind of cleaning up.
Well, I
Twitter
think it's because they want him to get even more involved,
Control him more,
right?
Because
Increase the censorship, and
it's now just like one person instead of a bunch of because before it was a corporation. And probably some of the boards are just like, hey, just let the governments in what they want. They'll let us have it. They're not going to cause problems. Just let them in. And now that it's a private company, they have to go through him. So you got to threaten him specifically to get anywhere. You know where the buck stops. Where before in Twitter, it's Jack Dorsey, but he wasn't the final say on everything. It's a bunch of random board members and how to get control of them. So once you know what to shoot for, it's easy to shoot for it.
That's a great point. Ricky, do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah. They're really trying to force people in an echo chamber so they're easy to like capture. Because like if you just let people speak what they speak, whoever gravitate. Like it's just better. You preach this since the dawn of this show. Like, stop forcing people in echo chambers. You know what I mean? So like, and the fact that like they did an interview in America and the freaking you.
Right. I don't
it's like
that at all.
having this like strong authority, like shut this shit down now. Not even the Democrats or the Republicans. Nobody is saying, yo, Elon, you're out of pocket. You know what I mean? Nobody here in America is saying that. But we go across the pond. Y'all want like dictate what's going on over here. We don't even give a what's going over there. Like,
I mean, here's something to be said. Ricky's got a great point. Elon Musk is not a citizen of the UK. So, like, where they get their authority is a curious thing. And they look at Elon Musk and go, it's not you we got the problem with. It's our citizens, EU citizens, getting exposed to your content, right? So I don't like that being something they're able to police on a platform where I'm not allowed to filter and or prevent my content from getting to them. It's not like, okay, YouTube comes in and polices my YouTube video because it was inappropriate and it was a video for children. Like, you have to check a box. YouTube's like, you sure this isn't for kids? And you're like, yeah, no, don't show this to the kids. But there were also, why do they have to like enforce this? Because there were people taking inappropriate videos of like Elmo and like in the middle of Elmo, making Elmo do some crazy stuff. And if the parents weren't paying attention, it went unnoticed. So I say that because I understand needing to police content and making it safe, but I'm able to say to YouTube, yeah, don't show this to kids. That way I'm still within their policy, and the policy is a little less restrictive because it's not going to the audience that needs that restriction. So I always knew you folk over there, you were a bunch of softies. And if that's the case, then guess what? You don't get to see our memes. That's fine. Like, let me have the ability to filter it from being exposed to them. Like, let me check the box. Yeah, don't show this to the softies across the pond. Now, in the off chance, I check it and I say, yes, the softies with the jacked up teeth across the pond are able to see these memes. Well, then guess what? Like, okay, I roll the dice. And if it's a bad one, then maybe the UK can do something. But the fact that I don't have the ability to filter that tells me it's like, hey, man, this ain't my fault. This is called the World Wide Web. Stay off it. Or I dare you to go Kim Jong-un on them. Go full authoritarian. See how it works out this time. Just like the T. Try to keep them from even going on the internet. Like, that should be your move then. Clearly, you don't like the internet. Reality of the internet is you can't really police the internet.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Like,
if they have enough power to control X, or formerly known as Twitter, they probably have the power to do an ISP and say, hey, no, we're just going to block this for you. Are they telling Elon, hey, we're gonna block X and Twitter for the rest of the EU if you don't shape up? And as far as I know, they haven't done it yet. He's had the interview. It's went out there, and I don't know. I don't like using nothing burger, but I don't know. Did anything great come out of that interview?
But you got to recognize the law is not a penalty, a civil penalty. You're going to get a fine. It isn't going to be directed at the social media platform. This is a gray area because the user is the owner of the company, and as the letter indicates, is somebody with significant influence, or if not all the influence, at the company. But that doesn't shy away from the fact that what the threat is him and or Donald Trump says something that incites hatred. People are offended. The legal parliament bill that I guess was passed, whatever you want to call it, I don't even know, whatever they're called. It went into legislation. I have it.
It's an EU law or something,
right?
Yeah.
The sentencing results in prison time. It is arrest. The gentleman that was first used with this law was sentenced to 20 months. That one doesn't, prick anybody. But we need to recognize this isn't going to result in an infraction against X or a limitation on X. These are all directed at users. And so the threat by the EU is arrest to Donald Trump or Elon Musk, depending on the content they share. Now, technically, I guess Donald Trump could say the crazy stuff, and as long as it's shared only on Elon Musk is the user at threat because they're saying the person that shares it. Like, and I could have gotten into it. It says here, regardless of intent. So they don't even want to get into the intent of the social media post. They are just going to
it's the result, not the intent.
Exactly.
So
arrest for people.
So I guess you could apply this in so many other different ways, but I think it's probably only going to be enforced one way.
So
there's only one type of approved think. Regardless, if violence is on both sides, there's only, I like the way you're thinking about the violence because the other one's justified. It's, God, I hate it.
Ricky, what were you getting into?
So it's a two-part thing. I already know the UK was strict with speech. Like, they don't have no freedom of speech because if you're a rapper in the UK rapping about people, they take it off YouTube. they cut it. Like, it's a thing in the UK for like their drill rappers. I get that. But if Trump wins and say some wild shit, which is not out of pocket. Ain't out of pocket. Ain't out of pocket. Are they gonna set out a warrant for Trump, and when he goes to like the G5 summit or something, lock him
That's
up
what I
in
mean.
Europe?
That's crazy.
Like you can't stand on business on that. Like it doesn't even make sense. Like why y'all trying to pick this fight outside of y'all country when y'all should just focus on what's going on in y'all country with all the riots and shit?
And when are you gonna learn that? Like, don't you recognize how people react to these things, man? Like, it doesn't go well. They make new countries.
America is the media place. If they shut down Twitter, people are really gonna see like, oh, I don't have this on my phone where I could share my opinion anymore without bothering to fly. Just letting words fly. Now they're gonna really have a problem.
No, I agree. I agree. All right. So, wrapping thoughts. This is a scary place that we're walking down. Who knows where this road leads? I know that's kind of a theme of a lot of things that we talk about. But the reality of this situation is this is a direct policing of content, right? The United States and the way they approach their laws, at least as it stands when it comes to speech, is they kind of police, if anything, the result and or how the viewers like if you incited a riot or your speech resulted in violence or damage, physical harm, the state's going to intervene. And truthfully, that's called living in a society with people, most of them being crazy. I'd actually like you to intervene the second I'm in danger, or this is going to be a danger to people. That's kind of your purpose. But there's a limit to that. And the limit is we don't want the state having the authority, getting into the position or the place to police that content. Like police the result, police but we decide what's bad content. Guess what? There's just one or two words Ricky could yell out on this episode that I can't. And it's not that I'd go to jail. It's that we as a society police that ourselves. They're actually we didn't need Asiago Cortez and Camel Lady and Donald Trump to pass a law to prevent me from saying that word. There's enough of a social deterrence for me to just avoid saying some things. And that's kind of where free societies come into play. I don't need you to tell me what's good speech. We'll decide that. Where I need you to start policing content is the result at which it becomes dangerous. And so I don't want to become too hyperbolic, but it is scary when you start seeing in black letter law things that result in arrest that are admittedly policing content regardless of intent. And then the arbiter of what is good and bad is the state itself. We know where that ends, and it's never a safe place. Pickle Gallery, you got anything you want to wrap up for us?
I just think, obviously, this is going to be a very slippery slope for the UK, of course. But I think if they are able to prove that that person's words resulted directly in violence, then yeah, that sentence makes sense. But if they are not able to prove that, then obviously this is only going to get worse. And who knows what's going to be next, right? Like, what if you say one thing and then they can just assume that, oh, he said that one thing, so this one thing over here, which is completely different and not related, ties to what you said, so you're going to jail. Like where do you draw the line here, right? And of course, as you said, like there needs to be laws where if you're yelling fire in a theater or you're saying bomb in a plane or something like that, like of course there needs to be heavy consequences for things like that, right? But at the same time too, there's also a fine line between that because as we discussed here, like where do you draw the line? Like where does it stop? Who gets to decide that the words I'm saying right now are an incitement of violence to something that happened 2 weeks later or 2 hours later or 2 days later or whatever, like there needs to be a fine line between that. so that it all doesn't just become a slippery slope. And then we're just out here arresting everybody that's just typing words on a website, you know?
That's that frog in boiling water, man.
Yeah.
I love that. Ricky, you got any wrapping thoughts?
Man, they need to be careful what they're doing, because I never seen they say anything about the Democrats like inciting violence, which they do in some of their speeches, like the squad members, the AOC squad members, when they lose, they incite violence and like, oh, we're gonna go quick, we're gonna go after them, and so, you know, I never seen nothing like that be on the main media. But simply just sitting down for an interview with someone and you just be like, oh, it's bad. It's bad for all of us. What you said in it is bad. Like, it's unfair, and they're going down a slippery slope. They better be careful, because civil unrest in a lot of these countries is really near. And it's not just America. Like, in the EU, same problem is kind of going on in America, and everyone needs to just start focusing, which I mean the government needs to start focusing what they need to focus on and get their act together.
So true. So true. David, rapid thoughts.
Yeah, I really like it when the EU kind of polices more on consumer rights and privacy versus just thought police. Because really, this is just a thought police thing. This isn't, as we all said, this isn't. I don't think they're upholding the standard equally and or as aggressively, so to say. But this isn't, and the unfortunate part, there's really nothing we can do about it. It's just not.
Right.
It's not our country.
That's what's
not our
crazy.
problem.
We can't do anything about it, but then they can police it on us.
Well, they can
non-citizens. That's wild.
This is one of the negatives of globalism. you do have to shoot for the lowest barometer here. So, and I don't know what I don't know the necessary issue of it is. So Trump has been president before. It's non-negotiable. It's happened. He said roughly the exact same things he said in his entire presidency. He can go on the EU floor and say the exact same thing, not arrest him, and actually give him a platform.
But these laws didn't exist when he was tweeting before.
But I think even if he is let's say he's president again, and then just says the exact same things on the EU floor, they're not arresting him. They're not getting rid of him. Even if you can.
I'm pretty sure he would have immunity too as president.
I'm pretty sure that would literally start a war.
So, but
I'd go to war for Trump.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but it's just not. This just seems like a peacocking moment for the EU. It's like, well, let's throw this letter out here and see if this changes any behavior. And they obviously didn't follow it, and they obviously didn't do anything about it. So other than them, all of a sudden, I didn't hear the story of them banning X on any sort of EU ISP. So nothing happened. This is just all just a show. And maybe they might do something in the future. That's possible. But it's right now you can only do this so many times until no one takes you seriously. So why use one of your shots on this? Why do it here? Right. I don't understand. I really don't understand the thought process other than they just think they're holier than thou, which they're not. We've seen all sorts of different occasions. You don't have your own country or you don't have your own group of countries in order. Why are you policing what we have to do over here?
Prince Andrew. Brian, wrapping thoughts.
Just like your point about the cockroaches behind the wall, I wonder how often they threaten large companies like this to silence them, and just like empty threats. And going off the video, I was watching it earlier today, and I was like, I wonder what's going on in the comment section. And there's a Dartford counselor, Ricky Jones. I'm not really going to talk too much about him, but if you look him up, he said some things, and they're not doing a damn thing about it. And they were what his words were very not okay.
Yeah. That being said, guys, we appreciate you joining us for the long ride here. Everybody that joined us and dove into the comments, that's what adds the extra perspective to the live show. Shout out to Brizzy, who gave us a user submission to the episode. We've got many of that coming. So seriously, send audio, videos, whatever to me, Ricky, Silent, any of us, and we'd love to have you add another dynamic to the show. Again, with the live show, thanks for the comments. That gives us things to work with. Again, we want a think tank here, not just a preach tank. So we appreciate everybody joining us. But we go live every Sunday at 9 a.m., which is a bit of a palate cleanser, a break from all the political stuff, and just, a couple laughs. Have a cup of coffee with us like Saturday morning, Sunday morning cartoons, and sit back and enjoy. We're not going to be doing it this weekend. So what you can do is go back to our channel, Rethink Actions, and check out some of the old ones because we got some goodies. But new episode will be coming out the following weekend. That being said, we also do this every Tuesday at 7 p.m. live sharp. So don't miss us. Silent, Ricky, tell them where they can find you. Silent, Ricky, go first.
Hey, Just Another Day TV everywhere, and my personal Instagram, The Right Way. Check me out. We be outside, post funny stories, but yeah, and send it in y'all viewer submissions because I know y'all be thinking and have a lot of questions. So please send them in.
He's outside, but he's inside.
Hey.
He's literally inside. Go Silent.
Silent Destroyer, kick.com/Silent Destroyer, live every single day. If you have any submissions, just send them to me on the DMs. You can post them in my Discord as well too. That's on my profile on Kick. So anything audio, video, just let me know and we can react to it here on the show.
Hey, love it. So guys, cheers. We appreciate you joining us. Like I said, we go live each week. We got content coming at you every which way, so you can find it all in one central place, which is our website at www.rethinktankpodcast.com. Otherwise, guys, we go live each week and we'll catch you next.